Raise your hand if you always feel motivated. I don't see any hands back there. Okay, raise your hand if you feel bad when you don't feel motivated. That is so many of us. If I had to guess, I would say lots of hands raised high on this one. Life can be really crazy and it can be exhausting, so we cannot be motivated sometimes. There are just days, weeks, or for some of us, even months that we feel blah. But I've been there more than I'd like to admit. So today I'm going to share some of my go-to ways of dealing with myself when I don't have the motivation to do what I need to do. Hello, and thank you for listening in to the Crazy Confidence Coach podcast, where we are on a quest to find the most confident version of you. I help women become the best, most authentic version of themselves by helping them find clarity around who they are and who they want to be. My biggest goal is to help women sift through all that noise they have in their heads about who they should or who they shouldn't be and create a plan to be exactly who they want to be. We make plans and a strategy in alignment with the best version of you. You don't have to continue to live with anxiety, high stress, and overwhelm. You can choose little by little to get back to a place of peace and live with more contentment and confidence than you ever thought was possible. Grab your coffee, your favorite pen, and a pad of pretty paper because we're going to go find your confidence today. Hello, and welcome back to the Crazy Confidence Coach podcast. We are talking about what to do when you don't feel motivated. I know the idea is that we all want to be motivated all the time. We want to be able to do everything that we need to do and just get it done. But sometimes we just don't feel like it. So today I'm just going to give you a few of the tips that I use for myself when I'm not feeling motivated. To start, I will say one of the best things that you can do for yourself, number one, is allow yourself to feel unmotivated. Hear me out here. This is the thing that our brain does when we decide we aren't up to doing all the things. It gets kind of judgy and it starts telling us we should be doing this or we should be handling this because maybe someone else seems to be handling it all and we're not. We start to beat ourselves up for not feeling this certain way. And to be honest, it just isn't very productive. It can cause us to kind of like spiral and have these weird thoughts, and it just keeps us feeling even more demotivated as we get down the line. So the truth is, all people have times in their lives that they just don't feel motivated. We believe that other people are motivated all the time, and we're hard on ourselves when we don't feel motivated. Hear me out. Allow yourselves to just not feel motivated and be okay with that. Number two, give yourself a deadline. I know it sounds weird, but here's the deal. When you give yourself a deadline, you're allowing yourself to be in that demotivated state without judgment. When you do that and you give yourself a deadline, it's like, okay, I can do what I need to do right now. I can be in my funk. I can decide that I'm not really as productive as I would like to be, but that's okay because I'm going to get to it at 5 p.m. tomorrow or 3 days from now. I'm going to make sure that I do what I need to do. Believe me, I've checked out for 2 to 3 days before, and it's not ideal. It's just not, but it is what you need sometimes. Be realistic. Don't demonize yourself, but give yourself a deadline. And that deadline transfers into number 3, and that is tell an accountability partner what your deadline is. It can be your spouse, it can be your bestie or a friend, but here's the key. You need to be able to trust them, and it needs to be someone that's going to have your back, but keeps you on track. Simultaneously, they have your back, but they also say, hey, good for you. It's okay to be down, but it's also time to get back on track because you said you were going to get back on track. You want to also make sure it's someone that isn't going to throw that in your face at another time and isn't going to judge you, because the whole point is to allow yourself to have the freedom to feel demotivated for that time frame. Then once you have that friend or accountability partner or spouse or whoever you tell, I say number 4 is important as well, and that's have a prepared list of things that you really, really enjoy and they breathe life into you. All right, what does that even mean? Some people really enjoy a hike. It is being outdoors. If you've listened to other podcasts, I talk about grounding. Grounding is a great way to kind of allow your body to kind of reset. Some people, it's music. They really find that their body is rejuvenated with music. Some people, prayer and meditation and getting in touch with God and figuring out what it is that God wants them to do for their next step is exactly where they get their energy. For me, I really enjoy downtime and prayer may be included in that. I also love to get busy with my hands with crafting or doing something that I can see out of it. I really enjoy movies or a book as well because they allow my brain to shut down. My brain is extremely creative. It can kind of go down these long tangents of information and it can be a little annoying. So it prevents me, when I watch a movie or a book, it prevents my brain from taking me down that next pity party. If you know what I mean, do one of those things on your list each day. If you happen to be in that mode of not being motivated, using a prepared list that's ahead of time, using that list and using one of those things each day because you know already that it's going to give you the energy that you need. Getting that clarity, though, about what motivates you is super important. I do that with my clients, and it seems silly. Oh, I don't need anybody to help me with my list. But sometimes people do need that help because sometimes when I ask a client, like, what helps you get out of your brain? What helps you feel motivated? It takes some time for people to really get in touch with themselves, especially if you're someone who has been uber busy and you're just going from thing to thing. You have all these responsibilities and you're not taking the time to be in touch with yourself. It can be super difficult. If you want help with that, it's something that I can do really easily. Jump onto the website, The Crazy Confidence Coach, and sign up for a coaching there, and we'll specifically work on that list if you need help with it. If you don't, not a big deal. Just make sure you have that list handy for when you encounter these times in your life where you're demotivated. Number 5, give yourself a pass to do the minimum required to make it through your day when you're demotivated. I think it would be a great idea to make yourself a little coupon. I'm one of those quirky people who likes the coupon books, give to your husband foot massage or a day with the guys or whatever, where they can pull out the piece of paper. I think it'd be great to make yourself a little pass that you can say, I'm just giving myself my pass, and just do the minimum required for that day. Most of us have a baseline of activities that we must do in a day. To keep our jobs, to care for kids, to care for the pets, to care for the husband. Just do those minimum required items, but allow yourself a pass on anything additional in your normal day. Then just have respect for yourself. Allow yourself the downtime. It's okay that you're not being overly accomplished for the day. The other key that is super important about this point is you cannot shame yourself. When you give yourself a pass for the day, don't lay there or lay in bed or watch a movie and think the whole time about how you should be doing something else. Try your best to just give yourself a pass and give yourself a deadline and move on. Number 6, this is going to sound really weird, but I personally have an issue with corn, and corn just makes me emotional. When I eat it within 24 to 48 hours, I have a very intense reaction. It's a food intolerance. It is technically not considered an allergy. But if I especially have corn back to back in 2 days, and corn chips and queso, for instance, and then I have popcorn, especially if it's GMO corn, it just makes me feel horrible. I get puffy, my eyes get puffy, I get super emotional, I cry at the drop of a hat. Let me tell you, my husband does not love this. I told him when we first met, hey, if I'm being unreasonable, ask me what I've had to eat for the 24 to 48 hours prior. And this is a little touch and go, but it does work. I can tell when I've had something in my body that is not good for me or doesn't do good for my body. I'm just mentally demotivated and I don't feel good. So number 6 is taking the time to review what your food and drink intake has been over the past 24 to 48 hours. Because if you're someone like me, you may be experiencing this low energy and extreme because of what you've taken in. It's absolutely natural to feel demotivated periodically. But when you find yourself struggling with this more and more often, it just could be a signal your body is out of balance and needs more attention. Your brain is so special and unique, and your body is unique. Each of us also has different stressors. We're introduced to different toxins, and our bodily functions are all different based on what we ingest or what we've been around. So just keep that in mind. And I'll ask you this, did you know that there's evidence that there is a brain and gut connection? Meaning that what is happening with your gut and what's your microbiome also influences your brain and how you feel if you're depressed. There's a connection there. So that's all I'm going to say about that, because it's a completely different podcast all on its own. But what you eat, what toxins you're exposed to, and even your sleep, all of it can impact your desire to stay motivated. So don't be so hard on yourself, and just be aware that that could be impacting how you're feeling. Number 7, be honest with yourself if you're unmotivated for a prolonged period of time. This just may be an indicator that you need some professional help, and that is okay. If you're just experiencing burnout or depressed, it's important to get help if you need it. I remember a very specific time in my life where we had 3 back-to-back miscarriages, and I was speaking to a friend. I was explaining to her how I was feeling, how things were going down, and her comment to me was, "I really think you're depressed." And I was like, "Oh, no way." As I look back on that time frame, I absolutely was struggling with depression and getting myself out of where I was. Your mental health is so very important. Pay attention to those signals. Pay attention if your friends are saying something to you they can see from the outside that maybe being unmotivated could be more than what you really think it is. If you are feeling more than just a little bit of a struggle every now and then, there are people who are here, ready, and willing to help you. Just have a talk with your spouse, a friend, or a professional if you believe you're experiencing feelings beyond that occasional lack of motivation. Look, I'm here too. My greatest desire is to help you be the best version of you possible. That doesn't mean I'm helping women be perfect or happy all the time or filled with joy in every second of every day. It's much less of that and more of building authenticity around who you are and who you really want to be. It's just making decisions around how you want to show up for your husband and your children and for the people that you work with, and then creating a strategy for what it actually looks like. That's the piece that we failed to do. We're like, oh, I want to be the best wife, the best mother. I want to be fit. I want to be healthy. But most of us don't create a plan to do just that. That's what I'm here for. I help people create the strategy, the plan to make steps that you take every single day. Then you get to practice being that best version of you by what you decide that you want to do. So try not to fall for the idea that you will arrive to a destination of being all you want to be. That is an illusion. Most of us will be working toward the best version of ourselves the rest of our lives. And thank God for that. Otherwise, life would be so much less interesting, right? All right. Have a great day. Be okay being demotivated. It really is a normal part of life. I'll see you next week. Thank you so much for joining me. Would you do me a huge favor? Will you share this podcast with 3 people you think might find the podcast helpful? To be totally honest, I have yet to meet one person who doesn't have at least one area of their life that couldn't use a crazy confidence boost. Hey, if you want to fast track your crazy confidence journey, let's hop on a call and figure out what's holding you back. Maybe you are struggling with feeling overwhelmed or feeling like you aren't enough. Do you want a big raise and don't know how to ask for it? Or are you just tired of feeling insecure with friends or your spouse? Whatever you're struggling with, I can help you. Go to www.thecrazyconfidencecoach.com to schedule your free discovery call today. Hope to see you here next week. Love you big.